We're also going to give out a coupon for the new magazine. So I need to get that. I'm going to put that in the announcement. That's that picture. Boom. And then where's the coupon? Until next Monday. Till this Monday?
You could not hear anything because no one was speaking. Things are being figured out for announcement. Yes, be in the announcement.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just writing up the coupon code for everybody, and then we'll get started. I just want to do this in one announcement because I only do so many at everybody's, you know. And October 2nd, 5 days. Okay.
That it's not that kind of announcement. It's the office hours announcement plus an additional one along with that's coupon related.
Okay. 1 more second, and we should be good to go. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I will just. We're going as is. And I'm posting the thingy. That way everybody will have. All right. That seems good. Cool. We'll let everyone come in. Then we'll get started. Give it a minute. Boom. All right. I think it's about leveled off. I still got to blow that way another minute.
So flyweight.
A little stuffy from last week still, but generally feeling better. All right.
Yeah, it's leveled off now.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is the weekly Midjourney Office Hours. We do them every week, Wednesday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. What we do is we start off talking about what we're working on, what we're thinking about, and then we try to answer questions for a bit. So let's get started. You'll do 2 types of questions. We'll do voice questions and lightning rounds. In lightning rounds, you can type them down, and voice questions will have people come up onto the stage. Yep. So you don't need a new subscription. So So the new magazine is shipping. If you have a subscription, you will get it. If you don't have a subscription, you should sign up for one or use a coupon code to get a free edition. Anyway. Cool. So what's going on? I think we're approaching the phase 1 release of our web stuff. So that'll involve like a new website that has better search, nicer designs, better light box, we call it, so you can look through the images really quickly. It looks pretty nice. It's pretty fast. And it's kind of a totally new code base. So the goal of this website is to eventually allow you to make images on the website too and have social features on the website. But before we release the social and the creation things on the website, we want to just get the bare bones version out there and make sure it doesn't crash. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully that'll come out soon. We have a lot of cool things that I think we'll be able to release this month. The first one is some aesthetic personality tests that'll help customize the aesthetics for your image making, and I think that'll be really cool. This upcoming month. No, not the next 3 days. Sorry. And so we'll have this little aesthetic personality tests, and that'll be great. We've tested it a little bit, and people really like it. We're still getting the final version ready, but I think when it's ready, it'll probably go out pretty fast. So we'll probably have several different types of tests. And in the future, we'll have like new tests, for different versions all the time, and hopefully it'll be like a thing that changes a lot. The second thing is that we have a few promising upscalers that will make your images higher resolution. We have one version that I like a fair bit, but it changes the image a little bit and maybe too much. So we're going to try to make it so it doesn't change it too much. And if we were okay with it changing it a lot, I think we could release it as is, but we want to try to not make it change too much. So that we have a few versions that might do that. And there may be trade-offs. It's possible we should have like a upscale subtle, upscale like strong. So we could have 2 versions, but we'll see what happens. So that'll be 2K by 2K. You don't know if 2K by 2K is 4K. Like, what is 4K? No, it's a little less than 4K. So it's more like 2K by 2K. I mean, it might be able to go closer to 4K, I guess, if it's a widescreen version. Okay, if it's a widescreen, yeah, it might be roughly 4K, yeah. So we're going to work on that. And I'm pretty happy with the higher resolutions. Like, it looks much better, and it's been a long time coming. We've been playing around with some color things that involve hex codes in your prompt, but we're not sure if we like how it looks yet. We were thinking of releasing something where you could at least set like one color, but yeah, I'm not sure. I think the color palette stuff that we were thinking of releasing might be a little slower. We have like some other versions of V5 that we could release, which have better aesthetics. Right now, the coherence is a little worse, so we're not sure if we like it. We could collect more data from the users and ask everyone to rate things and then call it a 5.5. I don't totally know if we will do that. We might do it. We're kind of on edge about it. So I think we have to decide about that in the next week. It's a bit of work to release this sort of new, bigger version. Just like a lot of work, and it could distract from V6. So, I think the most important things are the V6 and the new website. Yeah, the promo code is on the announcements page. I called it a coupon code. So yeah, we could, so it's a bit of work to release, and it could take away from V6. So I think that's the question. And we're debating. Like, we don't really, like, the V6 will be really big, but it also could take a while. So, I think we're on the fence about whether to, put every single person on V6 or to push out this sort of other one. It does look a lot better, so I like it. It's not as better as we'd like it to be. So yeah, we're kind of on the fence. We might also add some more ways of earning free fast hours. One thing that we might need people's help doing is we think we're going to ask people to help us describe images. So we'll ask you to like, here's an image. Would you describe it with as much detail as possible? And that's going to help us train either V6 or like maybe 6.5 to be much better at long prompts. And then we'll ask you to rate each other's captions. We might actually publish this data set. The data set will actually be really useful for researchers. But basically, if we have a lot of people describe images, then we'll be able to train both the describe feature and the next version of the feature. And so we're probably going to ask for that. Yeah. And we'll probably do that in a week or so. Well, we'll probably try to give out a lot of fast hours for it. Yeah. So we'll see if that helps. We may ask for some like kind of random voting things like that to help make the next versions of our stuff. We're also trying to make a new recommendation system that gives people like groups of images that are cool. So we may ask you to like rate which groups you like better. So that'll be interesting too. Yeah. And I think it would be relatively large amounts of fast hours for the descriptions. So that would be good. Debating exactly how to do it, whether there's like a fixed amount or whether we just do like a leaderboard, but we'll do something. Yeah. And yep. And so I think the V6 should be really good. It's got to be like, you'll have like better image quality. We'll have like more prompt understanding. It'll have better blends, better image prompts, more knowledge, more generalization. It should be able to, it looks like it's going to draw tags. So it's going to do a lot. Going to have a better upscaler. There's going to be a lot in V6. I think the scary thing about V6 is that there's so much in V6 right now that it's like relatively easy for the schedule to slip. So that's why we were thinking about releasing some stuff sooner. But yeah, so we're not really sure. Yeah, it's hard to balance because again, you have like date-based release cycles and feature-based release cycles. And so feature-based release cycles are, always behind schedule, and then date-based things always happen on time. So, yeah, the V6 is relatively far out still. It's unlikely to come this month. And the soonest that it could come, if we were really lucky, it would be like 4 weeks. And then if we like have some issues, it's probably closer to 6 weeks. But then, it could be like 8. So it's hard to know. But so it's probably between 4 and 8. But realistically, there'll be a lot of other stuff that we can release before then. And I think just, having the new style stuff and the new upscale. And then if we want to release it, we decide to release this 5.5 or potentially some of the new describe stuff. I think it'll be pretty great. So I don't think we're really worried about being the best, but it is pretty normal that somebody will have a feature that we don't have for some period of time. Like, we still don't have a lot of random features from Stable Diffusion, but, our pictures look good. So at the end of the day, people want the things to look good. So, yeah, we're really focused making just the quality look really good. So I feel pretty confident about that. It's just unfortunate that we can't exactly, have an exact timelines. It just, it takes a few weeks to train them, basically. And so you don't really know until it's sort of a weekend whether it's okay, and then you keep going. And so it's sort of, yeah, you don't know how many times you're going to have to retrain it, basically. There was a new Niji that people were working on. I'm not sure where it is now. I think there was possibly some new Niji styles, but I think realistically what we probably want to do is we'll take the style customization and personality tests that we're making for V5 and then make it available for Niji too. So that way you can kind of take an aesthetic personality test for Niji and then get like a custom anime style. And we were playing with that this week, and I think it was more compelling, frankly. So I think we just want to make it better at doing the personality tests. The personality test will give you like a little code. And so basically the code it'll be like style INTJ or something, and then you can use that code. So I think it'll be pretty good. And there's also things like 3D and video. I think video will take longer than 3D right now, even though we have proof of concepts for both. I think that's because the video just, I don't know, kind of looks bad really easily, and we want it to look good. And so we don't necessarily want, like, I think we'll have a higher quality bar for it. Whereas we have some sort of bad looking 3D stuff right now. And to be honest, it's kind of fun. Even the bad 3D is fun. So I think it's more likely that we'll release a bad but fun 3D first. And we'll see when the video comes out. But I'm pretty excited for some of the 3D, and it's looking pretty good. What else? Yeah, I mean, I think people have a really hard time kind of finding their style, and you can use prompts to do it, but not always obvious how to, because there aren't really good words for things. Like there's words like surrealism and words like painting and gauche or whatever, but I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But basically, for most forms of style, there aren't words for it. So helping people kind of navigate style space and find things they like without having to have a specific word for it and letting them share it will, I think, be pretty cool. Everyone's writing gouache. And so I think it'll be pretty good. And what else is going on? Yeah, we're going to try to make V6 bigger batch size. We'll see what the final batch size is. We're not exactly sure what it's going to be. Probably somewhere between 2x and 4x, but hard to know exactly. Yeah, we could add another super user club, but I don't know. I don't know if we want to reward just how many images somebody makes, but because it kind of be game too, but I don't know. It wouldn't be a terrible idea to add one more. I think you can always make. Anyway, let's do a lightning round. I think that's it for now. So let's do a lightning round. It's possible I missed some things. So put your questions into the VC text channel, and I will just answer things. And then we'll do some voice questions. I think V6 will be able to make bad images just like every other version. I don't know if the web test will come to a specific group of people first. I'm feeling a bit better this week. Yeah, I'm like a little sniffly right now, but aside from that, I'm feeling pretty good. We do want to do some character consistency. I think after V6, that's going to be one of our high priorities. 496 by 496 upscale. We're looking at it, so we have some 4K by 4K upscalers that we're playing with. There's definitely like a trade-off, so I think we're not totally sure yet, what level upscaling we want to add and do, but it's something that we are looking at. Yeah, we do hire. I think it's careers at midjourney.com or recruiting at midjourney.com. I can't remember right now, but it's on the website. We are thinking we do have some code now that could let us do transparency, but I think we're not sure if we want to do transparency right now. It might distract us from our 5.3 and 6. So I think transparency is on the roadmap, but it is lower on the priority list than other things. A lot of weird questions here and trying to. We're not sure exactly how the 3D will work in terms of mesh or not mesh right now. It's still kind of up in the air. Don't think we're going to add more area region controls right now. The personality stuff is optional. Yeah, there will be text rendering in the next version. At least the current test versions of V6 do text, so presumably we'll add it. It'll be in the V6 version unless we find that it hurts in some major way. Yeah, the personality will just be a code, so you can just use them. We might let you blend multiple personalities too. Yeah, so the upscalers are a lot easier when you let them change the details, and then the less you let them change the details, the less good it looks. So, I think that's the challenge with the upscalers that don't change it very much. I don't think we're going towards more. I don't think we're going towards more structured prompts. I think we're going more towards like being able to make images without any words. Yeah. We still find a lot of people have a hard time with prompts. But that said, like we want people to have agency. We don't want you just to say like I want a logo. So I think it's about like kind of moving through having these visual interfaces that let you kind of move through space. We're going to try to have a more complicated describe tool too at some point, so it can kind of help you like understand words for, how to make things. Yeah, you'll be able to have multiple personality things. So it's just like it'll be like a code, like INTJ, ENTG, and you can just put, one code, multiple codes in. We haven't decided, like the 3D is just, you'll be able to see it in 3D on the website. I don't think we've decided yet what our exported formats are. We do have people working on video, and we're gathering more video data now. I'm sure video will eventually be really good, but it's hard to say when it'll cross the point of going from bad to good. Right now, I feel like most of the video out there is kind of bad, so I think we want to wait until it's good. Because when the bad video is kind of a novelty, and it kind of makes, honestly, I think everything also look worse. So I think like because the images keep getting better, the standard for video keeps getting higher. No updates on the storytelling team right now. There aren't really updates like every week. It takes a while to do things unless you're exactly showing things. So we're not going to do that for now. Current prototypes of video generation look pretty similar to other things, except for that, like, the image quality is going to look a little better because our models are better. But getting it to the point where it looks really good is probably going to involve like a lot of data, really big models, a lot of ratings. And so we don't know exactly how long it'll take to do that. We're definitely going to add a lot more rating games. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool products being announced this month from other companies. I think we don't really know, we don't really know, if any of them are going to be good ideas, but we're really excited to see what people think of them. Maybe they'll give us some ideas, But in general, I think that a lot of the space is not being super thoughtful about what user interfaces should look like in the future. So, like, I'm not convinced on chat, for example, being like the universal interface, or even our words being the universal interface. Um, okay, we can do some voice questions for a little bit, see how that goes. Adrian, you there?
Yep, I turned on the hand raise option. No one has their hand up yet.
All right, raise your hand if you want to get on the stage. Ask a question. Oh, hey.
Hey David, how you doing?
Hello.
My question is, do you guys have plans for integrations with other services so that you could pull in images, for example, on the web and kind of mash together what you're trying to compose?
What do you have in mind when you say that? Anything specific in mind?
Yeah, like you could pull in images from Shutterstock because typically I'll go and search and try to find, for example, celebrity images and then, paste it in. But if there was a way to kind of search through and find stuff, it might make the process a little faster and contained.
It's interesting. It's been a little hard to do a lot of the partnerships like that with those companies. Not specifically that one, but just in general, because yeah, usually you have to be like, we would like to do a partnership with you. And then they go, oh, great. We have a business development team and there'll be 12 meetings talking about what we should be talking about in the meetings. And then there's like 6 levels of paperwork and it ends up taking like 6 months. And then, yeah, I'd rather just implement Google search into it, you know?
Yeah, totally got it.
It's pretty bad. Like the way it's like, I don't know. With Leap Motion, my previous company, we had a whole team. We were always working on partnerships, and it just made everything really hard. But I think generally speaking, like one of the takeaways from that is to just focus on building a good product as well as we can. That's not dependent on anyone else.
Right.
And,
Totally got it.
yeah, Google image search would be interesting. We're thinking of making a mood board website where people can just make mood boards and share them too. But
For sure.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it depends on exactly what you're trying to do. You're just using a lot of image prompts.
Yeah, I mean, I've basically been doing like kind of funny celebrity images, kind of imagining hip hop songs, like the things they're talking about, but like actually visualizing them. And eventually the goal of doing kind of music videos for songs that haven't gotten them yet. So just kind of exploring that creativity that the artist already had.
So how does your process usually look?
So my process starts with kind of searching through lyrics. So I'll try to find some lyrics that have something visual. So like there's a line where 50 Cent says he was a barber. So I try to, find some good images. I use InSwapper at the end of it, but I usually try to find a good profile picture of the person, feed that into Midjourney, kind of compose a scene. Typically, I try to add at least 3 or 4 elements around the person. So I'll in-paint on different sections of it to see, if you can add a couple little elements, because usually those are the things people will notice. They like look in and see a specific detail of something that's on the side. And then once I've found something that works, then I'll, swap over the image. It's on Instagram, goated.ones, some of the ones I've done recently.
It's cool. I think you'll definitely find it's a lot easier with image prompts on the website that we're building. We're going to have a whole little palette that lets you drop images in and keep track of them. And we're going to try to have some more complicated describe things at some point too. So I think that'll be a big improvement. I'm not sure what the next thing to do that'll make that easier, but yeah, I'm curious to see like whether the new stuff helps and what you think after that.
Definitely. And then last quick question, would you ever speak at a conference for bootstrap entrepreneurs, which I started a couple years ago?
Sorry, what was the question?
Would you ever speak at a conference for bootstrap entrepreneurs? I created a kind of community for bootstrap. So
maybe. I'm trying not to do too many talks right now because I'm just like I'm losing my voice because I talk so much right now and it's hard to think, frankly. But I'm also not sure if I'm like a normal bootstrapper. Like it's cool that like Midjourney has no investors and we are technically bootstrapped, but it's also just like it was a lot easier for me because I've been out here for so long. Like I already ran a normal venture-backed company with 100 people for 10 years. So I would think that a lot of people who start like who bootstrap, they're bootstrapping for the first time, and that's like a really different process. Whereas like I could go to Google and be like, I need 10,000 GPUs, and they're like, get this guy some computers. Because people kind of knew who I was, and it's really like I think I had sort of an unfair advantage in bootstrapping, and I don't think a lot of my advice would be good for that reason. In a lot of ways, like we have budgets that are similar to like we have like in some ways it's as if we're like a funded lab, but it's just that we're funded by the users. But it is I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to think about like what lessons I could give out there. But most of the advice, like I was giving some advice recently at a thing for the AI grant because Nat Freeman runs it and he's one of our advisors. So I do things for the advisors. And I think one of the biggest things I was trying to tell people was just like, if you're making a product, just listen to yourself about whether you like it or not and don't release it if you don't like it. And it sounds kind of obvious, but you'd be amazed like how many people in the crowd are about to release something that they didn't actually like.
Yeah, building for somebody else, how they think other people will interpret it.
Yeah, and so often like I think a lot of my advice that is probably better is not necessarily specifically related to bootstrapping, but I just be like around building in general.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't think I feel like I don't have any. I mean, the other thing around bootstrapping, I guess, which is kind of funny, is like when you're out, if you're building, people who build tech stuff often think you need venture capitalists, but like the reality is that almost all companies that have ever been built didn't have investors, and that's just called a business, And so, it is very possible to build a business without investors. That said, like, I think it would be a lot harder if, it would have been a lot harder if I had not done anything before. Like you kind of only get to learn so many things at once, and you kind of only get to innovate in so many areas at once. So in some ways, yeah, because I'd already done so much, it made it easier for me this time. So I think that's probably my biggest secret. Was just that, like, I could have raised some huge venture round, and instead I used kind of my political capital to just, uh, uh, yeah, get deals and resources early on that allowed me not to need to raise money.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. Well, I appreciate the time.
Of course.
Good. I'm going to keep this brief because I'm losing my voice. I had a I know we're simpatico today.
Okay.
So I have a question I tried to ask during lightning round, but I realized it was maybe weirdly worded, but either way, it's kind of a complex thing. In previous versions, we were seeing basically a less of a need to upscale unless it was a final image. But with the workflows where they're at right now, we're upscaling very frequently between panning, zooming, and region variation. All of those steps require upscaling. And so before I might end up with a final version in my gallery, on my profile page, whatever you want to call it, shared, but I might not. And now I might end up with 5 versions of it, and they may or may not have the final version there. And I just feel like that paradigm of like upscale is final will never really solidified as part of like, like this is how that is. I think that was kind of understood, like that's a thing I want people to see. And now we really don't have that. And I was wondering if the new site is going to address that at all, or if you've thought about that, or if you have any ideas about that.
We're still trying to figure it out. I think that we'll probably stop calling the kind of instant upscale and upscale soon. We'll probably like change it from like U1 to I1, where it's like image 1, and then it gives you more options underneath it, which include upscaling.
Okay.
So I could imagine that maybe if you click the I1, it's kind of like it's favoriting it almost, like I like this one, but it's not necessarily calling it an upscale anymore. So I think we have to change something there. I don't know exactly what it is, but something like that. The website will be different.
So every question I ask you is something about workflow, I feel.
Yeah, I think the workflow part is really hard, honestly, and I don't think we have any really easy answers because we keep changing things too fast. And I think that's the hardest part about user interfaces here, is because like it takes a while to build a user interface around a fixed version of this, but the stuff is just going to keep changing for a long time. And I'm worried actually that like the website looks too good, meaning that like it might be harder to add features to it really quickly. And then like,
Yeah, you don't want to get trapped in by the structure, right? Because you guys are changing things fast. I would say like V5 to 5.5 and into this, like the newer version with variation region, like we've seen a huge change in workflow just within this one version.
Yeah. And so I don't totally know what to do there. I'm going to be honest. That's probably one of the biggest questions is like, how do we actually do anything with everything changing? And, sometimes I thought that like maybe I should make the website like command line, more like, Discord, because it's easier to do command line stuff. But then the problem is that we want to make it easier for people to use too. So, I think we might have to, we're going to try to make we're going to try to have the nice GUI on the web. And then we may, if we can't fit new features into it, we will just have to make like a command line version too and kind of go with that.
Sure, that makes sense.
But
I was just curious how like that was developing on your end, if you guys were thinking about that, if that was something in the works, and if the new website had anything new to adjust for that. So
yeah, no, it's really hard right now. There isn't like a obvious paradigm, to be honest.
Okay.
It's yeah, I don't actually know what it's gonna look like. It's kind of like, I have ideas of what all the different components will be, but then the design framework for that is not obvious, like how to unify it. It's gonna be pretty like, and there's gonna be more. I think one of the issues I think is that there are there are kind of two different paradigms of making images. One is around trying to edit it and change it and iterate over something until it's what you want.
Right.
And the other one is more of like a wide scattershot exploration.
Well, I think having the larger output with the new version, right? You said we were going to have more batch size. I was kind of curious about that. If you don't mind me slipping another question, and have you been testing that with different aspect ratios? I know that in like what was it, 4, we didn't have aspect ratio right away. I was just kind of curious how aspect ratio is working with the larger batch sizes, because I think you're right. Like, I think once we can do larger batch sizes like that will impact like how we approach it. But I can still see myself spending an hour doing regional changes and variations and like picking at it, you know?
Yeah. It's true. We haven't been able to experiment that much with it. Mainly because the website is behind and we were going to do it on the website. We should probably play with it on the bot more. But we just don't have, we can't really do bigger batches on the bot really easily without doing some kind of web interface inside of the pop-up. So we end up being really behind on some of our products. We basically don't have enough people right now to both do R&D as well as like the main path product development.
Makes sense. That's like a big change. So
yeah, that's been a problem. We are hiring some people to do more prototype user interfaces, but they're probably going to do like data collection stuff.
So it's always hard to find people who are ready to actually get in there and not just be like managing other people. So
yeah, I mean, it's hard to find designers to work on this too, because it's most of them don't understand what's possible. And so they almost have to show it to them first and let them and then live with it and then do the design for it. So we've been very much, it's one reason why I think I've had to lead a lot of design, is because I can like sit with it for a little bit longer than most people, because I think I know what to expect a little bit more than most people.
You would be the familiar person, right? The person most familiar with what you're looking for. And that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's not ideal. Sure. And I think we're going to be just in a complicated and chaotic place for another year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully after a year or two, it'll calm down a little bit. Well, I think it won't feel like it's calmed down. Like in some ways, it'll feel like it's getting more chaotic because the user interface is getting better and more people are using it. But in terms of the actual user interface design, I'm hoping it calms down.
Well, I don't want to see you guys move away from Discord, but I think, and like exploring your options as far as what you can do on the website will definitely open that up a lot more, right? So, I can't wait to see what you do, but yeah, I know those were my main questions. Thank you so much for answering them, David. I'll let the next person go ahead.
Of course, no problem.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going? So on the UX and UI stuff, I was wondering if there are any explorations that you guys are doing, or anything that you can talk about, just like you personally, as to like what you would like to see on the user experience for creating images is, because I do think that like this is one of like the most difficult things people who are using Midjourney are facing, right? Like familiarizing themselves with Discord and all the buttons, all the parameters, all the options available. And I'm curious how you guys are exploring different user experiences for generating images. Is there anything that you kind of have in research or that you've been toying with that is interesting and worth mentioning? Even like pie in the sky.
I mean, we want to do a lot of stuff with bigger grids. We'll see how it feels, because the personality tests will also change the way the big grid stuff works. So, but I think a lot about how big grids will work. There'll also be some ones that are more iterative, like, where you can almost draw it and it's sort of reflowing around your drawing in real time. And we've done some prototypes around that too. I think the ones that are most interesting are where it's kind of like reflowing around your inputs in real time and where you're doing big grids, because as you go to faster and faster user interfaces, you can't do as many images. You end up eventually going to one image that is changing really fast. But on the other side, you have these slower things, but you just go to as many images as you can visually handle. And I think those are kind of the two extremes, which are interesting. We've done prototypes of both a little bit, enough to know that both are legitimate and interesting. They're going to have different types of users. I don't think any one is like the one. I think it just, unfortunately, yeah. I think it's just there's going to be more than one interface for different types of people.
When you're saying like more than one interface, like, can you specify a little bit more? Because like when I'm thinking about it in my head, there's like the interface of getting to the initial image where you have like your text prompt or image blending or like a combo of the two, and then there's the interface of working with that image, which is things like remixing and variations and upscaling and all that. Could you maybe like separate out like that initial image creation looks like versus what maybe some of those more like fine-tuning editing could potentially look like?
I mean, you might break down what you're looking for into like styles and subjects and compositions, and then you're kind of manipulating those things independently at a time instead of trying to do everything simultaneously, you know?
Or like a step-by-step process instead of like a prompt that has everything listed in it to begin with?
Maybe. I said we're trying to move a little bit more away from requiring prompts that, like, I think requiring people to be really good at prompts. And so we're trying to figure out what that looks like. Like, particularly the younger users have a really hard time. Yeah. And so trying to figure out how to kind of lay down the smallest possible number of words, and then explore the space around those words, and then to kind of layer things up, rather than this idea of like having everything up at the front and then, you know, getting what you want or not and iterating around that. I think there's like a lot of upfront, like your first action matters a lot right now with the current interface. I think I'd like to take it more the opposite, where the first action doesn't really matter that much, and that sort of your sequence of actions gets you closer and closer to where you want to be.
So almost like you start by like a simple prompt with like a subject, and then you can layer on lighting or your camera angle or like colors and things like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you see that being like more of like a GUI than like text-based, using words to do it?
Yeah, probably. I think sometimes it's better to use words, and sometimes it's better to use pictures. So, for example, it's better to use a word for saying things like cat or dog, but it's better to use pictures for saying, I like this color cat more than this color cat.
Okay, cool. I see.
So pictures are better for comparisons, and then words are better for randomly going to a specific subject.
Got you. And you mentioned that like you've kind of been experimenting with ControlNet-like features. I think in particular you mentioned that the Niji team was working on that kind of stuff. When you say that, are you talking about like expressions and posing and things like that?
Yeah, we've done poses, we've done edges, we've done some depth stuff. So like the kind of normal things. I think the team is refocusing though around more V6 related stuff right now, because the V6 improvement will be so big that like there's no point in making V5 more controllable. V6 is going to be 10x better. And unfortunately we can't do both at the same time. So then you kind of have to ask like which is more important, and it's more important to make things better right now than it is to make things more controllable. So like there's another level of better beyond the current stuff, which will be very noticeable. And so it's, yeah, we're kind of, so I think we're doing that first.
When you say more controllable for V6, is that going to be like more control via the text prompt, and then eventually we work towards these other UIs that you're experimenting with?
Yeah, more control for text prompts and image prompts and things like that. Yeah. But there's a lot of things, right? Like, it doesn't really matter if like control net works for stable diffusion, because at the end of the day, the images like kind of look bad, and you can make something look good, but it takes a lot of effort. So it just kind of doesn't, it ends up not mattering. And so it's a similar thing here where like, if there was sort of V6 versus a V5 with control net, it would be kind of the same way. Like the V6 images look so much better that no one really want to sit around like control netting the V5s, you know? I mean, I'm sure somebody would, but you kind of have to focus on like 90% of people.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a position where for a while, this stuff's going to keep getting better. And anytime we do things like control net, it's kind of honestly distracting us from the sort of larger trend of better stuff. So I think there's an argument that we should never be doing control net stuff until like the models mature and we feel comfortable with keeping them the same for a while. But I think every once in a while the team internally is kind of like, oh, come on, let's do it. It's kind of like there's a pull between iterating over existing versions versus like throwing everything out and making a new version. And they're, each scary and good for their own reasons. And I think we're still leaning towards throwing things out and starting the new thing several more times before we, I think, really mature. Yeah, it's sort of like how much better can the stuff get, and when is it safe to hold still? And so I think right now would be a bad time to hold still because stuff can be better. There's some pretty easy ways to get it to be a lot better. And so it's not really at the leveled off space yet.
True. And then my last question was, you said that character consistency after V6 is going to be a really high priority for you guys. And I'm wondering how you're approaching that and what that might look like for users to work with, either characters that they create or a library of characters that they generate.
I think it's more about creating a character and then making it consistent. And we're not really going to do libraries or anything. Yeah.
Creating a character like you're creating your avatar for a game type of deal,
you kind of make characters right now already, so it's just about making it saying I want to make this one consistent between these different things,
and carrying it over into different images. And like how do you imagine that coming together? Will it be like a parameter that you put at the end to call out? It's like you have like your prefer options now. Would it be something like that, or something different?
Yeah, I think it'll be more like image prompts.
Oh, okay, so like I would select my character and then prompt on top of it to bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. Cool. That is all I have. I'm excited for this describe update that you're talking about. Kind of like glossing over it, but I have a feeling that it's going to be like a fairly big update, especially along with like the increased natural language understanding in V6. So I think that's kind of like the next thing that I'm most excited for. Is anything?
Yeah, we'll see. We built a new version of Describe recently, and we weren't really happy with it, so that was kind of a disappointment. And so we have some ideas on how to make it better, but we're also like a little bit disappointed about how it wasn't way better. So we're trying to we may have to collect descriptions from users to help make the next Describe better, because there aren't actually that many descriptions on the internet of images that are detailed. So it doesn't have a lot of examples to go by.
Yeah, and like the current Describe feature pulls in a lot of these aesthetic tokens. It doesn't necessarily like outline specifically what's going on in the scene. Like this person is over here next to another person who's a bit shorter and wearing like a striped shirt. Like these types of things don't ever really come up in Describe currently. You had mentioned that in V6, like the natural language understanding is going to be better to a point where you can call out like multiple characters, multiple things going on in the scene and detail them and get that coherence in the prompt. Describe is going to sort of work alongside that in a way, do you imagine?
Hopefully. I think we don't really know yet exactly how these things are going to behave because they're not really working yet, but I think we know they can work a lot better.
Cool. I mean, it's exciting to see that things are getting easier for people to jump in and start exploring. I'm super curious to see what kind of UX, UI changes and experiments you guys lay out once you're on your own platform and not strained by Discord any longer. So gonna be a fun 6 months. 3D, new updates, more features. I'm pumped. So thank you for the breakdown. Jump off now. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
You want to do another lightning round or more voice?
We'll do one more voice.
All right.
Hi, David. This is Rico from the Netherlands.
Hello.
I've got a question about exploring images. I've been exploring images a lot, and I really love to see like the best of what Midjourney had to offer. And right now, I feel like on Hot the quality has gone down a little. You see a lot of how do you call it? Coloring book type images. Not so much really the combining of styles. The like almost new types of art on Hot. What's your idea for the website? I don't know if you've already told it because I dropped in a little late.
I don't fully understand what the question is. You're saying that you feel like the images have gotten worse, but then you want to know about the website?
No. It's I don't think the images has gotten worse, but the exploring images on the website. It's about ranking, I think. So before a couple of users dominated the Hot page, but all images were really good. Right now, a lot of users are on the Hot page, but some of the images are quite bad, in my opinion.
I don't know. We're working on a lot of new algorithms which will replace the current system entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they look a lot better. That's all I can say, is we're going to completely replace the current system, and our goal is for it to be a lot better. But obviously, like how better it is, how fast, what it looks like is a bit up in the air. But we have some algorithms that we feel relatively good about. So we'll see what happens as that goes.
And when will they be available?
I don't think we're saying timelines right now, but it's a big effort for us. A lot of people are working on it, which is unfortunate because it requires sort of algorithm knowledge. So it takes away from some of our, other new image models to make a better recommendation system. But I think our hope is that it's really important and that it'll be really good.
Will there be some type of filters? Like you can filter on all users or one image per user or new users, what's hot under new users or certain age groups, or so you can like get a feel for trends between people, users, cities, for example?
We're not currently planning on doing segmentation among users like that. It's an interesting idea, but I think right now we're more just trying to create like diversity and novelty and just generally high quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like so like diversity, high quality, and like newness, new things. So we'll see what happens. We'll just try to do and trying to find like an optimal blend of all of them. It may not be ranked actually there'll probably be no ranking in the next version. It'll just be like trying to give you a collection of really interesting stuff.
Great. That was my question. Thank you. And I really love Midjourney. So it became quite of a big addiction for me.
Oh, thank you. Hope you're happy, and hope that you enjoyed the new stuff we're making.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Let's see what else we got. Let's do one more voice, and then we'll do a lightning round. And then I might call me.
Hey, David.
So I have a couple of questions. Could you explain, in sort of less technical terms, how you guys define aesthetics? Like because I've noticed as I use certain words, it kind of seems to disregard that like images are, monochrome, or, that they're photographs, and it kind of goes in a different style. So I'm just trying to understand a bit better how aesthetics are defined.
It just trying to figure out if people are going to like it, and it's very kind of one-dimensional. It's sort of like, will a person like this? Will a person like this? Will a person like this? It doesn't really have a lot of nuance in terms of what aesthetics means, because it doesn't really know that much about any user right now. It's just trying to kind of figure out, like, is this something that generally people will like? And you can use things like -- weird, and it'll try to make something that it thinks you like, but it's not sure if you like it. And you can do things like the stylize and push it up and down, and then it'll kind of value its personal sort of aesthetic of what it thinks people likes, more or less over the prompt itself. So it's very single-minded right now. I think that as we add the personality tests, it will be more specifically trying to customize it to what it thinks you specifically like versus all Midjourney users like. And I think, unfortunately, personalizing to what all Midjourney users like is definitely holding it back right now, because most Midjourney users are like older, like most Midjourney users are like over like in their late 30s or older, and they're male, and so we find that there are like non-trivial statistical differences between aesthetics of like that change around age and gender, for example, or even location. So we're not going to ask people like, what's your age and gender, but we'll ask people for these sort of personality tests that are a bit more deep around what people like. I think deeper than gender and age, and that'll like personalize more to what it actually thinks you like specifically.
So they're not contextualized to the image that, say, you've already created that you're trying to refine. It's just sort of like we're pulling from a bunch of these things and just kind of throwing them at you to see if you may like them or not, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, right now it doesn't specifically, right now it's not specifically tailoring it to you or looking off your actions as much. It's just trying to make something that it thinks that people like in general. If you do things like variations, obviously, then, it's trying to zoom in on that one area that you're asking it for. But it's not, it doesn't really have like memory of you Just like if you say, I want to do variations, it remembers the one that you're varying.
Got it. Okay. Then my second question was just like you had mentioned maybe a couple of weeks ago, like the 5.2b version, which was the in painting model, which is slightly different, and you were debating whether or not to release it. So I guess my question was regarding if you have an update on that.
We tested on the Black Ops server, and I think people were kind of mixed about whether we should release it or not. I think they were not. I think the majority of the people on the majority of the mods and guides didn't think we should release it. Yeah, I feel a bit mixed about that because I think it obviously does do certain things better. So we will probably release it anyway for 5.3, but I think we weren't in as much of a rush anymore because of how unenthusiastic the guides and mods were about it.
Okay, great. This is all the questions for me. Thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Lightning round starts.
We'll probably change more image weights in the future. We're probably not going to make specific models for a single thing. I'm more of a digital artist historically myself. Like I did a lot of Photoshop and photography, and I had a Wacom tablet and I would draw things. So I was historically more of like a digital art person than like a painting person. 5 secret projects. Unfortunately, I can't keep the top 5 secret projects, or else they would be secret. We'll definitely do some kind of consistency stuff for non-characters too, but it's a lower priority. Yeah, I'm not trying to say that like any specific age is old or young. However, I think among normal technology like things, well, historically technology was something that was like you'd see early adopted by kids, like Facebook was something for college students only. Midjourney is this interesting situation where it's a bit of the opposite. Like adults are the ones that are adopting it first, and kids are the ones that are adopting it last, which is really interesting to me. Starting to move off smoothies. I'm trying to go for a low sugar diet and see how I feel about that. Yeah, we're definitely going to ask people for help soon in labeling data. So we'll ask people to help caption things and rate some images and things like that. I think that'll help us with some of our next versions. Sometimes when it's far away, objects might not work as well as when they're up close because it kind of has to do with the way that it does like a JPEG compression-like thing on the image. Yeah, the personality test will give you a code, and you can use different codes in different situations. Yeah, so although we're working on things that don't use words, we're trying to make the word understanding better still, so people who do use words can use it in more sophisticated ways. We are going to try to have an upscaler soon, so the maximum resolution shall be bigger. The Black Ops server it's a cool sounding name for a server where the guides and mods will test something right before we release it. Usually, like, if the guides and mods don't like something, we don't release it or we hold off for a bit. But usually we put something in the Black Ops server, they test it for 1 day, and then we release it. We are hiring. We have an email on our website you can add to. Yeah, Midjourney should have 3D in the relatively near future. Like, definitely within the next 6 months. I probably could throw it on a VR headset, but I'm not very enthusiastic about like the Apple VR headsets, for example. I worked in VR and AR for too long, and so I see these headsets and they look really heavy and not comfortable, and they don't have a long battery life. Yeah, the personality code could be a bit more like a suffix thing. So be like dash dash style INTJ. Nothing has changed in our models the last 2 weeks. If you see something from an old job that has the same seed and the same settings and it seems to be worse, like let us know in the bug fix channel. But there should be nothing different. What things or activities bring you the most joy? I mean, I like walking out in nature. I like listening to music. I like reading. Pretty basic stuff. Will the new website allow you to delete images? The new website will not really have profiles in the same way, so it just has a big archive. And you can rate things in your archive, and you can sort things. You can filter by ratings. Did see the Meta Quest 3. It looks better than the Meta Quest 2, but I'm still not very enthusiastic about Oculus as a VR company. Seems like they've really slowed down and they're not really focused on quality. It's sort of always focused around price, which I feel like is the wrong approach. I think you should make something good and then you should make it cheap. Yep, we are working really hard on V6. If you're having a hard time with the image looking too imaginative, try just doing dash dash style raw or asking questions in the prompt chat room. Insects with a better number of legs should improve in the next version. We're hoping to release the upscaler for V5 as well as V6. There is a downloader right now on the website, and we're going to have a better downloader soon too. Do you like Beat Saber? I haven't played lately. I like the original Beat Saber where you could kind of download like songs that were made by users onto it. And ever since Facebook took over it and you kind of could only download their official song packs released every like 6 months, it really like lost fun for me. But Beat Saber in general was a really good game, and kind of if I was them, I would have made like a VR headset effectively entirely around Beat Saber. Not because only Beat Saber is important, but I think a VR headset specifically made for Beat Saber would actually be the right headset for many other things. I listen to many different types of music. I'm all over the place. I don't do much for Halloween. So I have like cat ears from Burning Man, so I can wear that now, which is nice. Yeah, I think V6 will be a pretty big jump from V5. What do I think of Mark Zuckerberg? Obviously, there's a lot of things that Facebook did that were really innovative over like Google, and there's a lot of great tech that comes out of Facebook. I've never met Mark Zuckerberg, so I can't say much about him as a person. If you have, I'm going to try to not judge anybody that I haven't met. The first phase of the website will be out relatively soon. The second phase will take longer. Yeah, the image generation has been speeding up as we update the servers. And as the image generation speeds up, you also get better value for your money. So if it's twice as fast, you also get twice as many images because we don't charge you more for it right now. The personality test is a really good way to make it a style, but not necessarily to copy some existing style. So we're hoping to have some upscalers this month and new personality tests this month. It's hard for us to release a new feature every single month. I wish we were better at it. But I think the problem is that we have too many big projects that take multiple months. Like the website takes multiple months, the V6 takes multiple months. And if we're not working on big projects like that, it's easy to release things all the time, but big things just take a while. And so, yeah. I mean, if you look at the distance between GPT-3 and GPT-4, I think it was 3 years. So, to be honest, if we release a totally new model every 6 months, that's still 2 to 4x to 8x faster than everybody else. So, I think we are releasing new models faster than anyone. So, I feel pretty good in that way, but it would be nice if we could get something every month. You can use the raw mode, I think, on anything. Uh-oh, I think jumped around. Do we use Figma? Yes, we use Figma sometimes. There will be better text in V6. It's possible one day we'll be able to move stuff around in the scene, but I'm not sure exactly what that should look like. It's possible one day we'll do leap motion like things at Midjourney, but I'm not really rushing to it right now. We will have some kind of beta for the next Midjourney website, but we're not going to rush to it. There's just too much to do right now. What are these throaty noises? I'm not sure what that is. I am a little sick still. We're like playing with a few concepts where people can kind of train it on their own images, but we're not rushing towards it again. We are looking at adding some organizational features to the website. I don't know if it'll be phase 1 or phase 2. What do I think about making games with AI art? I don't know. I think right now the current stuff is really good for brainstorming. I'm not super into using like AI images as final products, but obviously eventually that'll happen more and more. But I mean, I think I'm most excited right now about people using the tools to explore and to communicate things with each other. Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting a cold so much. I'm trying to see a doctor about it. Might be I have a sinus issue. Luckily, I'm not too famous right now, so I can still go places. I do get recognized sometimes. I mean, I've been recognized ever since Leap Motion, and that was, 10 years ago, so it happens. I think the consistency stuff just comes after the next model, because the next model is going to be a lot better. UFOs. I like UFOs. I really liked it when they wheeled out the dead alien at the Mexican Congress. I was like really excited about that. I didn't realize that it was like fake, but I was still like really into it. I was like probably too into it. I like stopped everything I was doing and like looked at the MRI scans they were showing of the dead aliens. That was fun. I was like really into it. Like I kind of want like some crazy stuff like that to happen. Yeah, I had a vitamin D deficiency, but I don't have one anymore. So everyone make sure you take your vitamin D. I did an immune system test. My immune system seems to be okay. So I might have like a sinus issue, but I'm going to do some tests on that next week. I don't think I might have bought like one crazy newspaper about UFOs, but I usually wasn't into it. I mean, in general, I don't think it makes sense for aliens to crash on a planet, because if they were going to crash on Earth, they probably would have crashed on their way here. I do know George Hotz. I've known George Hotz for 7 or 8 years, quite a while. But I've also known the heads of all the AI labs for a similar amount of time. But I think most of the famous AI people I've known for a really long time. I'd say me and George have really different styles. So he definitely is very smart and good at things. I am watching the Foundation TV series. I thought it was pretty good. The creator movie, that looks kind of cool, yeah. So I'm like less into the whole like making robots storyline. I'm way more into aliens. I've been joking lately with a lot of the AI people that all the dark matter in the universe is actually alien supercomputers made of dark swarms of femto machines, which are like nano machines made out of subatomic particles. And it freaks the AI people out because the AI people like to think, like a lot of AI researchers like to think that there's no other life in the universe and that we're the only life out there and we're gonna like fill the entire universe up with our AI. But like, I don't know, the universe has been around for a really long time, and they were intelligent. Like some of the dinosaurs were pretty smart, but they got wiped out. And Venus and Mars used to be habitable, and Europa is probably still habitable, and Enceladus probably has habitable stuff. So there's probably like 5 places where life could have developed inside of the solar system, which means that there's probably the majority of stars probably have at least one thing that could have developed life. And the universe has been around for such a long time that like there was even a period of time where everything in the universe was room temperature, because once it was really hot, once it was really cold. So to me, like most of the science says that there should be life everywhere. I guess everybody's just wondering why they're not like visiting us and talking to us. But it's, to be honest, like a lot of people don't even like talking to other people. So the idea that like, if we don't even like talking to each other, then do the aliens want to like come down and talk to us too, and destroy our civilization with their culture? Probably not. So, yeah, I think there could be aliens on the internet. That's a hot take. Like, why do they need to abduct us if they can just log into the internet and talk to us there, or like download our internet and simulate their own AIs that simulate us? I think that if there are aliens, they're probably like that. If there are advanced aliens, they're going to be unimaginably advanced, and so the idea that they would come down and talk to us seems like the idea of us coming down and talking to ants. So I don't think it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, we're nature preserve zoo. Yeah, I'm more of the zoo theory that like, yeah, that people that if there are aliens, they're aware of us, but they're not really. We're kind of like on a nature reserve. You don't want to mess with the animals. Wow, people always trigger me on. Yeah, I like kind of like nerding out about aliens. You don't have to believe in aliens, but I'm allowed to nerd out about it. I'm not a big fan of simulation theory. Quantum physics kind of talks about how we get parallel universes for every single time, like an atom hits another, like a photon hits an atom. So if a universe is formed that easily and you can gain access to parallel universes, I don't see why you need simulations, because you can kind of use the infinite number of universes as your simulation system. But that's a little crazy, but I mean, so is the idea that we're inside of a computer. So the idea that we're inside of a computer to me seems kind of like normal theism, except God is a programmer. And you're allowed to believe in a God, and you're allowed to believe that God is a programmer. But to me, the fact that a lot of programmers like to believe that God is a programmer seems a little bit like higher ego than what is appropriate. Like, yeah. And it's like, oh God, he's just like me. Just like me for real. Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? People seem to have petered off. All right, we'll do another. Are there many people with their hands up right now, Ancient?
Nope.
Yeah,
two with their hands up.
Okay, well, we'll do a few more hands, and then we'll call it a day.
Great. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I have a few questions. First, is not a question, but concerning the library, you said you was looking to manage parameters to make a simple thing to make how you said it to make categories, styles.
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
No, it's the first one is not a question, but you said you was looking for to make. I'm sorry, my English is not very good, but
okay.
It's to make a style for the users.
Sorry, I'm not sure I'm catching it. Did you catch it?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, it's just earlier you told that you wanted to make something simple for the users to access styles or to make a library, and there is a Discord server that did it months ago. So if you're interested, I can give you the you said it, the link. Yeah, the link. And so I can begin with the question. For the upscale, do you think it's not better to put one upscaler that do the job maybe with less quality, but it's how you said it, faithful to the original creation, and another one that is better but can change a little bit for higher quality?
Yeah, I think we'll probably do two upscalers if we can, like a upscale strong and upscale subtle, but we'll see.
Okay, and my last question is for Niji. I've seen that you made some polls about aesthetic, and I don't know if it concerns Niji, but I've noticed that the style between the Niji 4 and I think the Niji 5 is more is less with the style. I don't know how to say it, but with details, And so I'm a bit worried that these polls can be to make aesthetic less with less style. I'm sorry for my English, it's totally not good, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. So my question is, do you think for Niji it's gonna get maybe more style, but the style that already existed can be more detailed?
I think we're going to try to let people customize their styles more. So hopefully everybody can get to the style they want, rather than us having like a single style that everybody has to, that affects everybody.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, I got a question about some changing area when we are trying to change an area on the image that is generated. As there will be some special hints just for this area, because when we making hints for a imagine command, sometimes it just changing all the picture, but not in this area.
So you can use the vary region to specify a specific region, and then if you have the remix mode turned on, you can change the prompt to guide what the region is supposed to be. You can ask for more questions in the prompt chat room, and there are a lot of people who should help you there. And
All right. Looks like that's all that had their answers.
all right. Any last lightning questions, everybody? Oh, last lightning questions, huh? How are you? So awesome. He was so awesome. That's funny. Well, I put my hardest into it. Put my heart into it, you know. Work up every day. Want to be awesome. If you have any cool Discord things, if you can always share things with Ancient Chaos, and you can share things with us. Terraforming the rings of Saturn sounds pretty cool. I've never thought about that before. You don't have a favorite day of the week. I have not heard of CE5. I'm not working with Kichi at the moment on anything, but I do like working with Kichi. We will be able to upscale in the next version sometime soon. I don't have a car. I hope I never own a car. In 5 years, where will Midjourney be? It's hard to say what 5 years is like, but in 10 years, it's not really like a fast artist. It's more of like a slow world simulator. So eventually it will be very high resolution and real time and 3D, and everything's moving around at the same time. I do not own a horse. Are you going to Inner Circle Silicon Valley parties? I do go to Silicon Valley parties. I've not read Children of Time. Where is the nicest place I've ever been in Europe? I've never been to mainland Europe, actually, but I have been to the UK. And I really like London. London's quite beautiful. Do I hope that Midjourney is a holodeck? I think whatever it is will not seem like a holodeck, even though holodecks are cool. It's going to feel like something a bit crazier. Would you rather teleport or ride a dragon? I really like dragons, but I don't think I'd ride a dragon. Like, okay, if I could transform into a dragon or teleport, I'd rather transform into a dragon because that seems badass, I think. But if it's teleporting versus riding a dragon, I'd rather teleport. Because I don't really want to like subject a dragon to being my vehicle, you know? I think dragons are really cool. Yeah, teleporting as a dragon sounds pretty cool. Consent matters, even with dragons. I do know of a lot of architects and building people using contractors to help make buildings nicer. So I do think the journey will help like buildings be nicer in the future, but buildings don't get built that much. So hopefully that happens more in the future. Yeah, you don't have to like cars. It's cool. I mean, it's nice just walking in places. It'd be nice to have walkable cities and public transportation, even though like cars are also like amazing within certain contexts. Yeah, walkable cities are great. I think that a lot of times, like obviously like cars improve the world, but then also obviously things before cars were really nice in other ways. So, the future is always kind of going through this transformative process. It's always changing. And it's always getting better, I think, broadly, but then sometimes things get worse before they get better. So let's hope for really beautiful, walkable cities. Yeah, just get outside, walk. Definitely helps with helps make you happy. Midjourney holodeck. I don't think about holodecks, but it's fun to think about. I should think more about holodecks. Holodecks are this weird thing where it's like when it's possible, it'll be easy, and when it's like not possible, basically it's either easy or impossible. So it's kind of in the not possible yet, but I think it will be. I have not played Cyberpunk 2077, but I feel like I played a lot of other Cyberpunk games that looked similar. Yeah, VR at its best feels kind of like a holodeck. I am 35. I have had birds. I've had a fish, frog. Never had a cat or a dog. Are we heading towards a post-work world? Yeah, I think we're heading towards a post-scarcity world that looks more like Star Trek or the Culture series from Ian Banks. But I think that if we had no jobs, we would still want to better ourselves and be challenged. What we'll do with our time is we'll explore and we'll grow and we'll play and just sort of, have fun. I think that being challenged and losing and, not always being right is probably important. So, like, I think that if nobody had to work, it would take us a little bit to adjust. But I think that the culture that comes out of it would be fine and good and enlightened. It'd take me like 5 minutes to adjust. I have not tried a vegan diet. Sometimes I'm vegetarian, sometimes I'm not. I'm gonna try low sugar for a bit. Oh yeah. I also haven't gone to full carnivore either. I kind of feel gross if I have like only meat. But I mean, it's just like me physically. We didn't raise money. We kind of just are supported by our wonderful community. How long have I been working with computers? I don't know. I think I started using computers when I was like 5, something very young. All right. I think we're all kind of just relaxing here together, which is nice, but we have a big offsite right now, so a lot of the Midjourney people are all meeting up and talking with each other and planning. So I am going to go and keep everybody company and start organizing and get the website out and all the new features. So thank you everybody for coming this week. This was the Midjourney weekly office hours. We do them every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. You're welcome to come by every week. Don't forget to check out the Midjourney magazine or to use the coupon code to get a free one. Even if you can't afford one, just, you deserve one. And I hope everybody has a nice week. I hope everybody enjoys the new stuff we're working on. And we're going to work really hard to get it out soon. So have a nice day.